Okay, so we have defined our function. You've done this in Mathematica. First, what we're doing is we're looking at the square root of 2, where in this case, since our function we're looking at is the square root of 1 plus x, for the square root of 2, x equals
1.
X equals 1. And we're also looking at the continued fractions that we looked at last week. So the continued fractions for the square root of 2, 1, 3/2, 7/5, 17/12, etc. are various approximations. And using 3 terms of our binomial theorem, we get 11/8 as an approximation.
Yes.
Now, what do you think of 11/8 as an approximation for the square root of 2? Like, how could we check without actually doing any calculations? Is that a good approximation?
Well, if we square it, we get 121 over 64. So, I mean, and 2 is 128 over 64, so it's relatively good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty good. The third continued fraction, 7/5, as an approximation. How is that?
Well, we get 49 over 25.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's closer. It's within 1/25.
Okay. Why don't we check? Why don't we do after the 11/8, and then we'll look at the plot next. So below the 11/8, do n of 7/5. Well, we know what that is, but it's fine. We can put it in. N of 7/5, and then n of 11/8. And I guess maybe n of square root of 2 as well, just so we can compare.
All right.
All right. Let me just bring those up.
Yeah. So
actually, can you? Sorry, I can't do your mouse pad through the keyboard. There we go. All right. So we get 7/5 is 1.4. 11/8 is 1.375, and the square root of 2 to 5 decimals is 1.414. So which was the better one?
7/5.
Okay, but it's not too bad actually. So let's scroll down and show the plot of what our 3-term approximation looks like between 0 and 1. All right, that looks pretty good. No, move it up. Yeah, there we go. So there's the orange curve is the square root of 1 plus x.
Yep.
And the blue curve is our approximation. So what are some things that you notice about that approximation?
Well, between negative 0.5 and 0.5, it's almost exactly, the two lines or two graphs are almost exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we get closer to negative 1, this graph, the square root of 1 plus x, goes to 0.
Uh-huh.
And this sort of falls away from our other line. And then up here it starts to diverge as well.
Okay. Yeah, and we were looking right at the end. Okay, so this is, but still we got a decent approximation for the square root of 2. Maybe not super great, but we only used 3 terms. Mm-hmm. And interesting, we found that the first 3 terms of the continued fraction were actually a better approximation, for the 3rd term, I mean.
Yeah, the continued fraction approximations are pretty good.
All right, so now pick a number that you wanna that we could look at next.
Maybe the square root of 3.
All right, square root of 3. Okay, we're gonna have to go back to the whiteboard, and we'll talk about how to do that. And let's do that now.